The Ornaments Rubric is found just before the beginning of morning prayer in the Book of Common Prayer of the Church of England. It runs as follows: The morning and evening prayer shall be used in the accustomed place of the church, chapel, or chancel, except it shall be otherwise determined by the ordinary of the place. And the chancels shall remain as they have done in times past. And here is to be noted that such ornaments of the church, and of the ministers thereof, at all times of the ministration, shall be retained, and be in use, as were in this Church of England, by the authority of Parliament, in the 2nd year of the reign of King Edward VI. The interpretation of the second paragraph was debated when it first appeared and became a major issue towards the end of the 19th century during the conflicts over what vestments and ceremonies were legal in the Church of England. History and interpretation. The rubric first appears in the Elizabethan revision of the BCP in 1559 and was retained in the later 1604 revision under James I. The second paragraph is essentially an extract from penultimate section of the Elizabethan Act of Uniformity and breaks off in the middle of a sentence. The Act itself provided that, such ornaments of the church and of the ministers thereof shall be retained and be in use as were in this Church of England by the authority of Parliament in the 2nd year of the reign of King Edward VI shall be retained and be in use, until other order shall be therein taken by the Queen's Majesty with the advice of her commissioners appointed and authorized under the Great Seal of England for ecclesiastical causes, or of the Metropolitan of this realm. Until June 1549 the Sarum Rite Mass was celebrated in Latin, with certain insertions in English. The ornaments of the ministers would have been the traditional Eucharistic vestments used in the rite: albs, tunicles, dalmatics, copes, chasubles, maniples, mitres, etc. The 2nd year, referred to in the Act of 1559, began on the 28th of January 1548, and the Act approving the introduction of the First Book of Common Prayer was approved by Parliament on the 21st of January 1549. While it has been argued that the Act legalizes the Roman Catholic vestments which were actually in use in the 2nd year, most authorities accept that the Act refers to the vestments ordered in the First Edwardine Prayer Book, even though they were only required as from June 1549. On the 30th of April 1559, it was glossed by Dr. Sandys, successively Bishop of Worcester, London and York, to mean that we shall not be forced to use them, but that others in the meantime shall not convey them away, but that they may remain for the Queen. Later in 1559, the Queen issued her injunctions, one of which required the church wardens to deliver to our visitors an inventory of vestments, copes or other ornaments, plate, books, and especially of grails, couches, legends, processions, hymnals, manuals, portals, and such like, appertaining to the church. In 1566, the Metropolitan issued his advertisements, ordering the use of the surplice, and in cathedrals and collegiate churches the canons of 1604 passed with strict conformity to legal procedures and legally binding, with minor modifications till well into the 20th century. Enforced this same line for about 100 years. Starting in the middle of the 19th century, the legal interpretation of the rubric was disputed. Anglo-Catholics pointed to it to justify the restoration of the traditional Eucharistic vestments of Western Christianity in the Anglican Communion, whereas evangelicals insisted that further order was taken in the injunctions of 1559, the advertisements of 1566 and the canons of 1604, and therefore the only legal vestments required habit together with the cope in cathedrals and collegiate churches. The use of the disputed vestments became undoubtedly legal in the Church of England with the passing of the 1969 canons, but these stated that no particular doctrinal significance was attached to them. Bibliography.